Hi everyone. So today what we're going to be working on is we've finished up quite a bit so far. We're going to need to draw in this slot for our width here. And yeah, then we'll need to do some roundovers. So what we find in real material, especially things like wood, is if we leave really sharp corners, like kind of around the edges, if we leave them really sharp, they tend to splinter and break away a bunch. They're really weak when it's a really sharp corner. So what we'll do is we'll do a little fillet here on all of our outside edges to kind of just round them over, and that'll make them much stronger and much more resistant to chipping. You can see where this leg already chipped a bunch off, and that's because it's so really sharp. See how sharp that corner is? So we'll just have the laser cutter round those over real quick. Now some things we won't want to round over more than others, but we'll talk about that in a second. All right, so first things first though, let's go ahead and cut this. Now remember, I made this 2 centimeters from the bottom to this slot, so I want to do 2 centimeters from the here to this slot. I want to keep that balanced. So to cut this slot, what I want to do is come over here to my face, create a sketch, click here. I'm going to do a construction line from the top to the bottom. And I'm going to put my slot on the left. If you want to do yours on the right, that's fine. And notice I didn't actually draw a construction line. I'm going to hit escape. I'm just going to highlight that line, and I'm going to just make it into a construction line. Totally fine way of doing things. Now, notice it's orange because I haven't defined where it's supposed to be yet. So I'm going to use the D for dimensioning tool, click on the line and the side I want to go off of. I'm going to make that 2 centimeters. And that makes me happy. So now that's all lined up. I'm going to grab my center rectangle tool. And I want this slot centered on this line. So I'm going to go down to the middle until I find the little triangle, which tells me the center point. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to drag it up. Now, I want this slot to be equal to the thickness of the material. So that's that bottom number that's blue right now. So I'm just going to type in the word thickness. Again, what this allows me to do is change the thickness later for a different material, and it automatically will change all the slots and make everything just work for whatever thickness I have. And then I want the width. So I made the width of this tab, I want to say 0.6. Did I write that down? I think it was 0.6. So I'm going to make the width of this the same as the width of this. So I'm going to hit tab, and I'm going to say it was the back width, and it was times 0.6. And I'm going to hit enter. Now you might be concerned. You might say, well, what if it doesn't fit because it's exactly the same width as the other one? The nice thing is when the laser cuts stuff out, it actually vaporizes a little bit of material. So the width of the hole is always going to be a little bit bigger than the thickness or width of the material. So it'll actually work out really well, I think. Okay, so I have that done. I need to extrude the hole. So I'm going to hit E. I'm going to select the hole, and I'm going to push it back in. See how it turns red? That means I'm cutting, and I'm going to say, I don't need to go quite that far. I'm not going to get really blown away there. I'm going to say OK, and I've just cut that slot. So now I have my phone stand, and it's almost totally done. All I want to do is take these hard corners on the outside corners, and I want to fillet them. So I want to just round them over a little bit. So I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to choose up here on the modify. I'm going to go fillet. I could just use F. And I'm going to rotate so I can see this edge right here. I want to fillet. I'm going to zoom in. I want to fillet this edge. I want to round this over. Notice it has a little push arrow so I can round this over as much or as little as I want. I'm going to choose that 1/4 centimeter. You can choose more or less. It's just up to you. What you need to do is just knock off a little bit so that it isn't quite so sharp and it won't chip up and damage as much. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on, I should be able to click on this edge now. Whoops, I'm going to Control Z, undo that. I did not want to click that quite yet. Modify, fillet. I'm just going to come through here. I'm going to select them all before I put a value in. So I'm going to click on that one. I'm going to click on this edge. I'm going to zoom out. I want to do this bottom edge here. Whoops. Right there. If you click on something that's wrong, like if I clicked on this on accident, I just click on it again and it goes away. All right, so I can do that. I'm going to click on this edge here. Now I don't want to round over these edges because I like this idea that it's a nice smooth line through here. So I'm not going to do those, but I do want to do this outside edge, this outside edge, this one, and I want to do the back of the leg as well. So I want to round over this outside one, this one, that edge, and then one more right there. I don't want to round over any inside corners. So this corner, I don't want to round over this one. That would be a bad thing. It would make it not sit flush. And then I'm going to make sure, I think I got everything. So if I didn't, I get it later, but I'm going to give it a value, and I'm going to use that 1/4 centimeter. But again, it's really just looks, so it's whatever you want it to be. I'm going to click OK. I think that looks pretty sharp. I'm going to hit my home button. Make sure that all my edges are rounded. So, whoops, I just moved that. So notice I just moved it and screwed it up. So instead of trying to get it back like just right, if I just go Control Z and I keep going until it goes back, I'm totally fine doing that. Okay, so yeah, I think that's all rounded over nicely. All right, so that's the major part of the model. Now it's for you to add your own details. So, I don't know, maybe I'd want to do something else to my stand. Maybe I want to cut a hole for decoration or something. I want to just mess around with some stuff. Or maybe I've got one of those like pop sockets on the back of my phone, and it's my case has some like thing on the back of it that's going to get in the way of it sitting flat. So I might be able to want to cut a hole for that. Make sure you don't make anything really thin. So if you were to cut, say I were going to cut a hole for something, and I made it like the hole was like this big, and I extruded this hole out. Notice that's going to get in the way of this working well, and this is going to be really weak and break really easily. So just be careful as you're messing around with more stuff to not make anything too thin so that it gets weak and breaks easily. Also, my phone works out. Like I measured this earlier for my measured drawing, and this is just over 12 centimeters from here to where my little lens is. And the distance, I can do a measure real quick. I can do a measure distance, and I can measure from this line up to this line and see that it's 11.428 centimeters. Ooh, that might be close. Let me take a look at mine and see if I make it. Yeah, so mine is 12.3 or something. So I've got an extra centimeter, so it's going to come down to like right about there. So I don't need to do this in. Maybe though you need to cut a hole because maybe your cameras are bigger. You may need to like figure out a way to lop off a corner here or something. Also, what I might want to do is I might want to actually come here to the center of my bottom, and I might just cut a little half circle, because when it's sitting here, maybe I want the cord to be able to come down and go back behind it and kind of escape out the back and look kind of slick. Maybe I wouldn't, so I might do that. And as I zoom in here, I'll show you a little neat technique. Hopefully I can do this in this mode. I'm going to hit the fillet button here, and I'm going to, oh, nope, it's not going to let me grab it. So I have to have another line here to do that with. I'm not going to worry about that right now. So then I'm going to do the extrude tool, and I'm just going to extrude this and cut it out. So right there is good. Says cut, it's all ready to go, boom. Now I don't want those sharp edges just like before, so I'm going to need to fillet those real quick. I'm going to use my fillet tool here and here. I don't need much of a fillet, I might just go with 0.15, a little less than the other ones, and then click OK. And now I've got a little place for the cord to pass through, which is kind of fun, like right there. And maybe that's too big a hole, maybe it's not big enough. I can play around with that and change that around if I needed to. So this is the point where you're going to do what you need to do to your model to make it your model. Don't worry about pictures. We'll add images and engravings. If you want to do that, we'll add that in a separate program. If you put a picture on here, it's not going to export anyway. Or at least I don't know how it's going to export, how well it will export. You can always try it and see how it works. All right, well, that's it for the video. In the next video, what we'll be learning is how to take this model, break it apart, flatten it out, arrange it so it's ready to laser cut, and then how to take the Fusion 360 model and create a PDF that we can send to another program. In that program, we'll learn how to add decorations like pictures and even our written name, our signatures on them, and then how to use that program to export it straight out to the laser cutter, and then we're just cutting and going. So we are close. Early next week, we'll be cutting these things, and I'll talk more about that in later videos. All right, have a great day, everybody.